Okay, so in the last part, we are not going to do any practical session in this part. I'm going to introduce the next level of mindfulness, the fourth level. So today we were able to cover the theory behind the mindfulness of the feelings, mindfulness of the mental states, of course, not fully. Higher mental states we did not touch. Maybe in that last meditation, the 4-element meditation, we only thought of solidity. Some of your minds might have passed on to the great state, one higher state of the mind, which I'm not sure because it normally comes with practice. So please repeat and try. Right? Then higher states we can talk about. And even in the mindfulness of the feelings, we did not touch the unworldly feelings very much. Worldly feelings we did. And under the meditation on the mental states, we touched the normal states of the mind, ordinary states of the mind. Let me introduce this last area, mental objects, where that simile, that example I mentioned earlier about a curry, where the mental state is the result of multiple mental objects working together in unison, giving rise to the noticeable mental state. In that meditation, you would have noticed that when you do a volition on some bad experience, a hostile mental state will arise. When you do a volition on a sensual or some beautiful place we used, where you found that you received the inputs that you liked to the senses, then the mind transferred to a lustful state. Likewise, the causes were visible because we were actually forcing. But when you actually do this meditation, you don't need to force. You let the mind to think of anything and monitor that state rather than forcing it. So that's how the meditation is done in real life. But since we were doing the training, we were doing the forcing the mind because I wanted to show you the forces. Okay. Give me a minute. Sorry. Okay. Right. So mental objects. Okay, I'm receiving one question. Okay, one of you say you got disconnected in the last 1 or 2 minutes. That will not be an issue because I think since you were there in the major part, it's not an issue. Don't worry. It's not an inconvenience. So you are okay, right? Don't worry to. You don't need to apologize. Those are natural things, right? You are fine, right? Okay, let me continue with the mental objects. In this part of the meditation, this is very much complicated area, mental objects, because we need to develop some ability of identifying the mental state in order to develop the ability to identify the mental objects. It's like your ability to identify each and every component or ingredient put into that curry, right? But what is important is that we are not going to cover everything. I will highlight one or two in this area. There is a very important area called hindrances, aggregates, sense faculties. These are the three things we are going to cover. Other two we are not going to cover. The awakening factors and the truths we are not going to cover because they are too advanced. Hindrances, aggregate sense faculties, anybody or any living being is experiencing. Therefore, those three we are covering under the mental objects. So altogether there are 5 meditations. Out of the 5, we will be trying to cover 3 of them. These mental objects are used by the mind for the manifestation of what it thinks as the reality. We know the reality for any mind, reality of the world is a kind of a perception, how that mind sees the reality. So to manifest that reality, it's using mental objects. So let's see what are these important mental objects. Definition, I think you can always guess now. It's the awareness of the phenomena. In this case, phenomena is mental object as they occur and as they are at the present moment. Contemplation, similar to the earlier. When they arise, you become aware. When they pass away, you become aware. Contemplation stage 2 is when they arise, you become aware of it and its causes. And when they pass away, you become aware of it passing away and the causes for passing away. Right. To make it easy, although we should have started with the hindrances, I would like to start with the sense faculties because that looks more familiar to anyone. So our discussion will be how the mind do the manifestation of this subjective reality. And starting with the sense faculties. After that, next day we will move to aggregates and the hindrances. Today, introduction to this idea called sense faculties or sense spheres, which we have been talking about actually. I was talking about the eye, the ear, the nose, and the tongue, and the body. They are the sense faculties. They are the sense faculties. For example, if you take the eye, it's in meditation terms, it's called a sense sphere or sense faculty. Sense sphere or sense faculty. What does it sense? It senses color. It can't sense the smell. It can't sense the taste of anything. It can sense only one thing, the color. Only the color. When it cannot sense the color, it can't identify an object. It's like open air, for example. If you look at the air, because it has no color, the eye can't identify that there is air here. Of course, the body can feel the air moving, but eye can't. The eye can't see the air and can't notice the air moving. It does not know actually. Through the eye, the mind does not know whether there is air there or not. So it's capable of only showing the color. When something is colorless, it is unable to sense. Okay, this sense, I'm sure you know enough about it. If you just look at a cross section, this part, although we call, now let me go back. Although we call this as the eye, for meditation purpose, this is not the eye actually. It is only the frontal interface of the eye, the lens. For meditation, we use this part as the eye. This is the eye. This is the eye, and some color formation will have to fall on it, the retina area, for the eye to see. If the light does not fall there, the eye can't see. Therefore, what the eye sees is that it's not the color out there. The eye will be seeing the color falling in here, falling onto the retina. And then the mind will perceive, of course, it must be the color out there. So it's a different perception. What the eye can see is only the color falling on the retina. Only the color falling on the retina, not the color outside. Color outside may be different. So actually what is outside the eye, we don't use the word color in meditation terms. We call it color form, not color. Color is what the mind perceives. For example, if you see the blue color in the sky, uh, you know it is a perception. You know, because of the science, I think you know sky is not blue. Sky is not blue. There is no color there. But you see it as blue when you are looking at it from the earth because of a certain diffraction. So it's a vision effect. So that the color outside is not color. The blue is a name internally given for a particular perception by the mind. So what is falling on the retina is not called color in meditation. It's called color form or visible form. Visible form is just an ingredient needed to generate the color perception in the mind. So this is not color, it is color form, remember, for meditation purposes. But then just because the retina is there and the color form is there, you can't see. You need something else to join here, which is known as the consciousness. So the consciousness of the mind will be transferred here for that short moment, for that brief moment, to take a sample. It's a sampling theory, basically. You take a sample, just use the consciousness as the sampling gate. The moment the consciousness appear here, you take a sample of the color form into the mind. After that, there may be a vacant period. And the consciousness might appear again little time later, which is like the action of a sampling gate. But the eye and the color form might be touching each other. Without the eye consciousness, without the mind appearing there, the color information is not transferred to the mind. Therefore, in meditation, like we name that consciousness as eye consciousness, when the consciousness appear in other senses, they are given names according to the name of the particular sensor, like this. Consciousness, when it appears on the eye, the retina, we call it eye consciousness. When it appears on the ear, we call it ear consciousness. When it appears in the nose, here the sensor, I will show you the photo later, it's called nose consciousness. When it appears on the tongue, it's called tongue consciousness. Anywhere on the body, when the consciousness appears, we call it body consciousness. When the consciousness dawns or appears on the mind itself, we call it mind consciousness. So it's one consciousness actually. Functionality is one, but depending on where it appears, it's given this the prefix of the place where it appears. Okay, so this one is therefore called eye consciousness. When these three appear at the same moment, at one particular moment, that combination of the three factors is given a name in meditation terms. I think you can guess what the name is. When the eye and the color form and eye consciousness are all three present at one moment of time. That is called the eye contact. That's called the eye contact. That is what the mind will sense. At that moment, at the moment of eye contact, a sample of the color information, which is called the color perception, is taken to the mind. And the mind will classify the color perception as blue, red, or whatever. Okay. Hope it is clear. These are the terms we use for the meditation purposes, right? These are working definitions for meditation. So let me define eye contact. Eye contact for meditation is the combination of the eye plus color plus consciousness at one moment of time. That's called eye contact. One question, there is a small issue in journal editing. Students cannot edit it now, but the calendar states that it ends today's midnight. This might have happened because I think it happened because I changed the setting so that you can see the feedback, because some of you told me that the feedback I wrote is not visible because the access was restricted. So what I did was I removed the restriction. When I removed the restriction, the journal automatically puts a time limit, the time I can't put. So that's what could have happened. I will check on that and extend it to, in that case, I'll extend it to tonight. So our usual practice was the midnight. So by force, I will extend it to midnight. And after that midnight has passed, from tomorrow, I will switch back to the other mode so that you can see the feedback. By the way, were you able to see the feedback? Can someone answer? Were you able to see the feedback of the last week? Okay, you were able. Oh, so because that setting was changed, I think this confusion might have happened. Anyway, don't worry. I will force it to end tonight. So immediately after the lecture, I will reset it to close midnight tonight. After that, you might not be able to see the feedback again. So by the time I put the feedback, I will reset the setting. Okay, so 6 contacts then. When you see a picture, you get eye contact, ear contact, nose contact, tongue contact, body contact, and mental contact. Out of the 6 contacts, the mind will derive the feelings, perceptions, volitions, everything. So everything starts with a contact happening. Okay? And remember, this is sampling theory. You know, eye contact is not always there. Only one contact out of these 6 contacts will be active at a time. Although there are 6 contacts in the definition, only one will be active at one moment of time, other 5 will be off. So the mind is sequential, therefore it can access only one sensor at a time. So full sampling theory you can apply here. Right? And using that sampling theory, of course, we make gadgets like the television to fool the eye and the mind for the person to see that it's continuous motion, although we are showing pictures one after the other. So this contact theory, eye contact, ear contact, nose contact theory says only one contact is happening at a time, and mental contact, after one contact happens in one of the other 5 senses, multiple mental contacts will take place in order to understand it. For example, when the eye contact happens once, that information is passed to the mind, and mental contacts will go on happening several times until that information is comprehended or until it is understood. So that cycle I will present next time. Since the time is up today, this is what I can present to you today about the senses. We just started on sense faculties. So next time we will be completing sense faculties, aggregates, as well as hindrances. After we finish the hindrances, we will be discussing those higher states of the mind, absorption states called dhyana. That part we will be discussing after we finish this, because this knowledge is required to understand the higher states. Okay, any other questions before we finish? You can use the voice to ask anything. One question, do we identify the image color as blue using I or mind consciousness? The name blue is given by the mind. The blue color form or color perception is identified by the eye. The eye will be generating color perception, which will be passed to the mind. The mind will name it as blue or red or whatever. So that naming is naming, and the attached emotions, they are all added by the mind. The eye is only converting the color form to color perception. Color form is physical. Color form is physical. Color perception is not physical, it's intangible. The eye is doing that conversion, color form to color perception. The ear is doing the conversion of sound form to sound perception. Sound form is that sound wave that you know in the science, there is a sound wave hitting there. That is called sound form. But what you hear in the mind is mind perception. So the converting device from the form to perception is the ear. Likewise, I will explain more details next time. Right? So that area, the sense faculties are very interesting for a meditator, because you can do a lot of trials right there, a lot of practice right there, because senses are right there with you. Okay. So thank you very much for today. We will close it there.